All right, welcome back to episode 14 of the Precious Metal Gents podcast. I'm Zan here with Brian. We've got a very, very packed episode tonight. We're going to do a little bit of our introductory thoughts, then a brief mail day, talk about some wide receiver sales in the market recently, a couple of listener questions, and then we'll tackle the main event, which is our favorite inserts. So, of the 90s, that is, and early 2000s as well. But first things first, I guess I should maybe clarify something I posted today on my story. Nat Turner, who is the CEO of Collectors PSA, posted a 1999 Precious Metal Gems of Terrell Owens, PSA 6, that he just recently acquired. In fact, that card was on auction on eBay and ended a few nights ago. The seller of the card is PSA. So how they got the card, whether it was someone who just had it in their vault for a long time and decided to sell it, or whether someone graded it and wanted to sell it immediately, unknown, but PSA was the seller. I posted a poll asking whether it was maybe proper for the CEO of PSA to be bidding on a card that was listed by PSA. And interestingly, it was a fairly split result. 52% of voters said, yes, it's okay. 48% said, no, it's not okay. So a fairly clean split. But then I also asked people whether it was proper for a consignment company, and I didn't specify who within the consignment company, but a consignment company to bid on a card that the consignment company had listed for auction. And that was a resounding 88% no and 12% yes. And so I've tried to figure out what the real difference is there. And I want to be clear that no one's ascribing any malintent to Nat Turner. I think that's not the point of this at all. He's a collector. Been collecting for a long time. Nobody saw that and was like, wait a second, he's trying to manipulate the market. Let's be clear about that. I think the issue that we're bringing up is that a CEO who is more or less the company. I understand that there's maybe no ownership stake. I don't know to what extent or how PSA is held, who owns what, but to a certain extent, CEO is the company, at the top of the company. And CEOs, generally speaking, have access to profit sharing or bonuses based on company performance. And so when PSA auctions a card through eBay, they take a percentage of that sale, which is anywhere from 14%. And then as the price of the card goes up, the percentage goes down. So what I was trying to get at was, is it proper for the head of a company to bid increasing the price of an item, and in turn, the fee for the company goes up, presuming that the percent change as it goes up isn't significant enough to make it decrease. But the idea was to figure out what people thought about that. And so I'm having a hard time reconciling the results between those two polls, because I think a lot of people are getting caught up in the idea that it's Nat Turner and he's a collector. Rather, this is a CEO that's the head of a company. What did you think about that, Brian? I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
I participated in your poll, and I voted no. It's not okay, in my opinion, for a CEO. I had to separate myself from Nat. I've never spoken to Nat. I don't. I may or may not in my lifetime. I like Nat, like, just from what I know of him. I think that if Nat personally were in charge of, other companies like maybe Fanatics or even other companies in the hobby, they'd probably be better off. I think he's great at what he does. He's a great collector. I can't say enough good things about him. Just from what I know from like a collector looking in. I love PSA. I grade most of my cards with PSA. I've always had an issue, an underlying issue, and it wasn't so much that I've had an issue where something needed to change, where like I knew a solution to this issue, but I've always had just an issue where I was hoping that somebody could come up with something better where, like if you're looking at Nat grading cards, even, I mean, something that a totally different topic than what you're talking about, but grading cards. And then now you're talking about participating in like an auction that's, basically sponsored by or consigned by PSA. Those things, they just get a little dicey with me, and I don't know the actual, the right solution to this, but I always think that there should be a degree of, at least, of separation between the person running the company and then what they're doing, within the company, or participating in the, the fruits of the company, if that makes sense. So he's obviously, benefiting from sales and profit sharing and things like that because he works for and, is PSA or collectors. But then also he's a collector and he's getting the benefit of getting a card, that he wants. And my main question would be then just why that card? Why that auction? Why not just your Nat Turner? Why not get the card privately? Why even have it run through auction? Either that card or the other 49 copies of that card. I don't know. I mean, I wonder why that situation is even a thing for a person like Nat Turner. And it's nothing even personal. It's just, from a collector standpoint, looking in, again, I have no allegiance to anybody with it. I'm just a random, general average Joe collector looking into Nat Turner running PSA, who I'm a customer of frequently, and I respect them and him. But then I just wonder why something like this is even happening and why people like us are even talking about it. That right there proves the fact that, to me, there's just something kind of weird about it. And that's why when you posted that poll, I voted no, it's not okay for a CEO to do that. And I think that, 48% to 52% is a pretty telling result that it's a mixed bag. And I think anybody on either side, the fact that it's mixed, I think people need to address it more and kind of look, at what's going on and talk about it, which we're doing.
Yeah, I think there's arguments on both sides, which is sort of like, is Nat forever screwed from, participating in a PSA listed auction because he's CEO? Is that the right rule? I don't know. And then you think about other people that work for the company. I mean, it's a massive company. As you go down the food chain, the potential for abuse is less ripe because people, like some intern in the mailroom probably doesn't have the power to really contribute to bottom lines by bidding on auctions. But as you go up the food chain, then there's the potential for abuse. And so we're clearly not saying that it has been abused or even it will be abused. There's just potential for it. And you can look at PWCC for this. And again, different situation. PWCC at some point banned their employees from bidding on their own auctions. I don't know whether it was before the CEO was caught conspiring, if you want to say, with sellers and buyers to up prices and to shill prices illegally. But that's how it can play out. You don't have to have every person within an organization be a bad actor. You could have one or two, and that can sink the company. I'm interested to hear people's thoughts on it, though, and if you disagree with us, why. I really am interested in open to the conversation because I do think there are arguments on both sides. But at the end of the day, to me, it just boils down to a bid for an item increases the fee for the company. And at the end of the day, at scale, that tends to benefit the company financially.
And he won the auction. It's not like he was bidding and then lost.
Right.
He won the auction. So we're not saying, and I'm not even going to infer, and I know you're not doing this either, that he shills auctions. Like you referenced PWCC. Just because we reference that right here doesn't mean we're trying to speak of him in the same light as the situation with PWCC. That's just one example of what could happen and what has happened. Not saying that he's going to do that. My question would be is to, just think about what are the safeguards that could be in place and what safeguards do you or like you, Zan, or anybody else that's listening to us know that is public that protects, PSA and the integrity of PSA from, one single employee at PSA grading, taking advantage of grading, or taking advantage of their auctions? Is there any safeguard in place? I'm asking this like, because I don't know it. I'm not even speculating. I'm just saying these are the things that I would want to know as like a customer. What are the safeguards in place for employees who would like to bid on their own auctions? Like, is that made public so everybody knows, or what are the safeguards in place for employees that want to grade cards? Because I mean, yeah, obviously no one's saying that. I'm not saying, and I know you're not, that Nat shouldn't be able to buy cards or to grade cards with his own company. I mean, if I were Nat, I'd grade all my cards with PSA like he does. I mean, that's the best grading company there is. That's why most of us use them. But what are the safeguards in place that are made public to show the public and the other customers that this person's not getting a advantage by doing so? And that's really the thing that I would just ask. I don't think there's a lot of clarity in that. If there is, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know it. And I don't think there's a lot of like transparency with a lot of things that with PSA. And that's just kind of the stuff that those are the things that I struggle with that I'd like to know more about. And I'd welcome anybody, to share that information that does know anything about those two things.
Yeah, and maybe that information is out there. We aren't aware of it. So yeah, if you know anything about that safeguards or just situation generally, let us know. But we don't want to belabor it. So let's move into mail day. I have one card that I actually kind of have. I got a PSA order back today. A bunch of them are going to consignment though to pay for through Fund Your Cards. But I am keeping a 99 Ben Coates Precious Metal Gems that graded a PSA 8, which I thought was pretty good. I bought it raw. And then I also received a 1998 Super Rave of Terrell Owens. I posted it on my page. I got that earlier or late last week. It took 2 weeks to get here. I got it from War Chief Cards, who sent it like next day. The very next day after I bought it, he sent it priority, perfect. Somehow got routed to Puerto Rico for like a week, and then it came back to America, and so it literally took almost 2 weeks from when I paid for it to get here. So kind of weird, but great card. I really like that set. I've been picking up a couple of Hall of Famers here and there, mainly because they're so cheap. I mean, some of the best players are under $1,000, and so I'm going to keep doing that probably with that set. But that was about all I've got for mail day. Brian, did you have anything, or are you still in the consolidation period?
Still in consolidation, but I did get, actually, I remember I did get one card, the 2012 Fleer Retro Tim Tebow PMG red out of 100. I posted on my page a few days ago. I got a little while back, but last week, but it's a cool card to pair up with the Danny Warfel, the 97 PMG. So I was happy to get that. I was looking for just a copy at a fair price because the last couple sales they were pretty high, I thought. And this one came up, and it just so happened to be the highest graded copy, Pop 1, none higher. So I kind of lucked out on the price. I thought it was pretty fair, and they do a really good job of that set, that retro set. It matches up pretty well with the original 97 PMG Reds. So I was happy with that, but that's probably going to be the last card that I get for a little while.
I saw your post that they look really good together. Like you said, they almost identical. I mean, the design is the same, the holofoil, the backs are the same. I think the serial number is like the only real different thing. But yeah, they look great together. That's an awesome combo, and it kind of captures your Florida fandom. So I'm sure I definitely will have another card next week to present for mail day, but that is it for this week. So before we get into listener questions, we're going to do a slightly extended card of the week showcase. And it's more about wide receivers, all-time wide receivers and their prices versus current wide receivers and their prices. But this was essentially spurred on by the recent Tyreek Hill rookie black prism sale, black finite prism. 2016, it was a PSA 9, and it sold through Fanatics Premier. Ended on August 22nd for a price of $35,400, which sets a high for a Tyreek Hill card. The prior high was his 2016 National Treasures Shield Auto. one of one, which sold back in November 2022 for $13,000. So almost 3x on the Black Prism. He is, funny enough, wearing number 81 practice jersey in the picture, which looks a little strange on him because we've become accustomed to seeing him in number 10. But Brian, you kind of dug into some wide receiver sales. Tell us why you decided to do that and kind of what you found.
I think the wide receiver market's really interesting for a couple of reasons. One being that Jerry Rice seems to just dominate that market, and he kind of dominates like any skill position player. And the first, if you were to name like, who's the best football player other than a quarterback, most people would name Jerry Rice. So we know that his prices are high. But then you start seeing some of these more ultra modern wide receivers, seeing that the game has kind of been taken over by the wide receiver position, more so than the running back position in the past, from the 90s, 80s, and 70s, 60s, and beyond that. But the wide receiver position is really more valuable right now than it's ever been overall, I think. And I just kind of wanted to see what the comparison between some of these newer wide receivers are to, the all-time greats, or guys that are considered the all-time greats. And I want to give just a disclaimer that, one, there's a lot of cards that I'm going to show that are sold that are listed as the highest sale, but that's the public sale. So everybody that's looking at this or listening to this, you have to take it into account that a lot of these cards move privately, and these are just public sales that I'm focusing on. Number two, you have to take into account the era that some of the players that I'm going to talk about played. There's a big difference between 101 Black Finite for certain wide receivers now, as opposed to like an early 2000s Topps Chrome Black or something like that. So again, you just take all of this with a grain of salt. I'm going to list the public sales for these wide receivers and compare them, and then we're going to have a discussion really briefly about how these things compare and what's the relationship between all of them. So the all-time wide receiver list, there's two lists that I'm going to talk about. There's one list being the all-time wide receiver list, and I use yardage to basically simplify the process, because yardage is a good indicator for the wide receivers. I felt, because it included, number one, a lot of the wide receivers that most of us would think would be the all-time greats, and then number two, it really correlated, in different order maybe, but it correlated with like some of the other lists as far as like touchdown leaders or things like that. And the list for receptions, if you want to go off of like the top 10 wide receivers ranking for receptions, it had less Hall of Famers or future Hall of Famers on it than actually this yardage list or the touchdown list. So in the list, you have from the top down, you have Jerry Rice, Larry Fitzgerald, Terrell Owens, Randy Moss, Isaac Bruce. And then you have Tony Gonzalez at number 6. He's a tight end. Tim Brown at number 7. Steve Smith Sr., Marvin Harrison at 9, Reggie Wayne at 10, and then I added an 11 spot because we used a tight end, Tony Gonzalez, in there. So it's 10 wide receivers and one tight end to make 11 pass catchers for this list. So I'm going to run down all of these wide receivers and their top public sale quickly. So number 1 being Jerry Rice. We have the 1997 Metal Universe PMG. It's a PSA 6. It was sold for $150,000 in 2022. We've talked about this card a couple times on this podcast in relationship to other cards. He's got a couple sales of his 1986 Topps rookie card, PSA 10s. Those are the only ones that sell significantly, and those were actually $125,000 and $121,000 back in 2021 and 2022. What's interesting about the PMG Green Jerry Rice, as I go through this list, is you're going to see that this is the number one most valuable wide receiver card ever sold. So this particular sale being $150,000, it far and away exceeds any other sale publicly of a wide receiver. I think it matches up pretty well to any position player too. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, Zan. Is that true?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, it's pretty high up anyway, even in quarterback territory. Larry Fitzgerald, His highest public sale was a 2004 playoff contenders, the rookie ticket. It's a 1010, so a gem mint 10 with a 10 auto that sold for 52,800 in 2020. And then his sales drop off pretty significantly. That same card in a different grade in 2021, so in a PSA 9, sold for 15,000 only. So that was in 2020. 2021, it dropped off pretty significantly. So, but his highest sale is 52,800. I know he's got some other pretty rare ones sitting in collections privately that may or may not have moved, but this is the highest public sale. Terrell Owens, he's got his PMG, his 97 PMG green, 9,600 for a PSA 5 copy in 2023. And then he had a 97 PMG green, an SGC 8.5, and an old slab, sell for 8,700, not too much lower than this one, in August of 2023. And that one's got a questionable serial number. Did you want to add anything to that you know about that slab, Zan?
That's the one that keeps me up at night. And I'm sure we'll talk about it on the 97 metal show when we get there, but it's just an anomaly. The serial number looks like all the fakes we see, but the slab is so old. I think it was created in 99. So there's something there, and we'll have to get to the bottom of it. But yeah, at least we know that his all-time high here, the PSA 5, was a real copy, and man, that's a pretty sharp card.
It's a beautiful card, yeah. Randy Moss comes in with a 1998 PMG out of 50. He's in his Marshall uniform. Cool looking card. Sold for 24,000 in 2022. And then very close behind that was his second highest sale, 98, the 24 karat out of 24 PSA 7, sold for 19,200 privately or publicly. He's had some other bigger private sales as well. I don't know if they necessarily were higher than these two, but his 98, what was interesting about this too is his number 3 sales, the 98 Skybox Rubies out of 35, because the rookies are out of 35 in that set. BGS 8 was 15,000 in 2022. So very strong prices for Randy Moss overall. And these cards are, these aren't 101s. These are out of 24, out of 35, out of 50. So very strong sales for him. I will mention that 98 PMG in 2022 sold for it was a PSA 10 that sold for 24,000. I would think that if that card were to be listed again publicly, that it would probably surpass that price pretty significantly, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and you know why? Look closely at what's right below the PSA label there. It's a Mike Baker authenticated sticker.
I almost missed it. Yeah, almost missed it.
I was looking into getting I was like, I kind of like to have one nice Randy Moss card. I was like, oh, the rubies, those are pretty undervalued. Then I looked up this sale. It's like, shit, 15,000. That surprised me. I mean, I know it's his rookie and everything, but it was, like the Manning, I feel like has gone for like 10 to 20. So it's weird. They're pretty close in value there, but he's definitely got a strong market.
Yeah, definitely. This is where it gets really crazy. This Isaac Bruce stuff. He's had his three top sales. One of them, the highest one being the 97 PMG green. Well, they're all 97 PMG green, but they're in BGS slabs. It's 7.5. I believe it's the same card that sold 3 different times. The highest sale being $5,000, but it's a fake, or it's a real card. It's a backdoor copy with a fake serial number, non-conforming serial number. It's the 004 serial. So really, I don't really know what his public sale high would be, because I consider this to be kind of a phony sale. Maybe if there's a rubies that sold, or a 24 karat or something like that, maybe we'd go somewhere near this or higher. I don't know.
Yeah, that was, I think Andy, our friend Andy, bought that card originally like over a year ago, back when all these fakes were flooding. And I think he got it sorted out with Beckett. But yeah, this thing has just come up time and time again. And funny enough, you say his top 3 sales are all the same PMG. It's actually his top 5 sales are all that same PMG. And then you get down to it, and then there's a red that sold, and then after that is a 99, 98 for about 1,500. Like he's so undervalued, and I know people, he's like kind of boring, I guess, quote unquote, considered that way because he was quiet and just played for on one team most of his career. But if you like Bruce, man, he's definitely a good, or if you want to pick a good wide receiver to collect, he would not be a bad one because you can get a lot of his good cards for $1,500 or less.
Yeah, I think part of it too is that he played for such a good offense with a lot of stars and a lot of other Hall of Famers on it that maybe he gets kind of lost in the mix. So,
yeah.
Here's our guy, Tony Gonzalez, 97 PMG green, BGS 8. Our friends at BGS graded a bad serial number. Again, so $6,766, but it's a bad serial number, 012. That is technically his highest sale, but again, it's not a legit card. 2 and 3 are 97 PMG Reds, PSA 8 in 2020, and then a PSA 9 in 2021 for $3,000 and $3,162. So, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's a shame, man, that him and Bruce suffer the same fate here with these, especially this Gonzalez's rookie card. And so you'd love to see a real one out there to kind of see what it would go for. But he's another guy I think is pretty undervalued. Again, tight ends maybe not a big thing, and I would just mean undervalued from the sense of like he's one of the best players ever, and he's relatively affordable. His 97 Rubies rookie PSA 8.5 was listed on eBay for like $7,000 or something like that, and the seller took an offer of $2,000 recently, which I thought was pretty odd. His 06 finest, was it 05 finest Superfractor sold recently for like $1,400 or something like that. So if you like Gonzalez, another guy who you can get some really good cards of at decent prices.
Yeah, he's number 6 on the yardage list. So, I mean, that's crazy.
Incredible, yeah.
Here's another boring guy, but I love him. One of my favorite all time, Tim Brown. His high sale was the Fleer Brilliance 24 karat gold out of 24. PSA 9 copy, which is just beautiful. Tough to get on this card, too. For $2,940, it seems. That was August 25th, 2024, just a couple days ago. I think that's a great price for that card, considering how good Tim Brown was, and he's again undervalued. His second and third cards of the 98 PMGs, PSA 6 and PSA 7, those sold for $2,605 for the PSA 7, and then $1,900 for the PSA 6.
Yeah, that's a strong sale for Brown. I think it surprised a few people. Now, I don't want to go too far into this, but there's some issues with this guy. Had a lot of cards that sold that night, and a lot of them went for higher than you would think, and then a lot of them were not paid and were listed. So I'm not saying anything, something we have to dig into. A lot of people have messaged me about it, though. So I thought I'd just be mindful of this. It may not be true value, but anyway, we won't get too far into that. Go ahead, move on.
I guess I thought that this was a good price for if you're looking.
Yeah, it's not a bad price. I think it. Yeah, it's not a bad price. If taking the seller out of the equation, I think it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm collecting Brown and I can get a PSA 9 24 karat like this for $2,900, I mean, to me it's a win. But yeah, if there's issues with the sale. Steve Smith Sr., he's got his 2001 Contenders rookie ticket. PSA 10, that's probably why the price was even at this point, but $1,580 in May 2023, and then he had a Bowman Chrome Gold rookie at a 99 for $1,500, so a very low sale. But a lot of, he's in the Prism sets, and his black finites have sold or moved privately for an unknown amount by me. for probably much higher than this, I would think.
I think so.
Marvin Harrison, this is a big one. His 97 PMG green sold in just this year, June 29th, 2024 for $17,690. It's a PSA 8. It's a beautiful card. I don't know what it is about the blue and the white jersey and then the green background. I think the card it looks amazing. That's a really strong sale, I think, for the wide receiver market for him. He's, again, another kind of underappreciated wide receiver, I think. The PMG green has the top 3 public sales for him. PSA 7 in last year for $9,300, and a PSA 8 for $7,099 in 2022.
Yeah, that's a strong sale. And if you want to hear us, actually, we dissected that sale on our July 4th show. So if you're interested in hearing more about that sale, go check out that episode.
Reggie Wayne, this is the craziest one for me of anyone that I'm going to talk about tonight, other than maybe the Puka Nacua rookie card on the opposite side. But
but he's a 2nd round fantasy pick, though.
So. Yeah, right, exactly. This is insane. So April 25th, 2023, not that long ago, 2012, Panini Prism, Pylon Prism, those are the Dutch auction thing that I did an article for Brett, the Stacking Slabs group, about it. He's talked about it on the show a couple times, and he's later mentioned a number of times these Pylon Prisms not getting really the love that I think they deserve because they weren't really pack issued. They're purchased off of the Panini website, but they're just absolutely gorgeous cards. First Prism set. This is a 101, and it's sold for $1,125 for Reggie Wayne. To me, it's unbelievable. And not to mention, that's his 3rd highest public sale. His first highest public sale is, in fact, and I didn't even put the picture up here. I just had to put a picture of this up. But it was a 2001 Topps Chrome Black out of 100 PSA 10 Pop 2 for $2,010. I don't really understand this. It's not like this card sold in 2015 or 2014. I mean, it sold last year. For a 101 in the first Prism set of a guy like Reggie Wayne in a PSA 9 grade, it just seems insane to me, and I don't really know what to make of it. He did have some other really high sales for dual shield auto 101s with Peyton Manning, but I'm only including cards that are just the player that we're talking about. They're individual player cards, not the dual cards. Then we go on to Andre Johnson, 2003 Playoff Contenders Championship ticket 101. That sold for $4,572. That's in a BGS 9510 auto. One card that I highlighted, his number 3 sale is a really cool looking card. It's a 2003 Leaf Mirror Black Auto Shield. Jersey card 101. It's got, looks like 3 pieces of jersey. It's got 2 pieces of jersey, a football, an auto. It's a sticker auto like the early 2000s were, but that sold for $1,500. So still pretty relatively low for a guy like Andre Johnson, to a top wide receiver, top 10 wide receiver, top 11 pass catcher in terms of yardage. So just to highlight some of this stuff, the list is in order of highest sale to lowest public sale would be the Rice at $150,000, Moss at $19,200, Harrison at $17,690, Fitzgerald at $1,500, Owens at $8,700, the Gonzalez at $6,766, the Bruce at $5,000, Andre Johnson at $4,572, Tim Brown at $2,940, the Steve Smith at $1,580, and then the Reggie Wayne at the bottom, probably the best card, one of the best cards in my opinion on the list, maybe other than the Moss and the Rice, for $1,125.
Yeah, so just keep in mind when we talk about these more, I guess, current wide receivers and recently retired receivers, that this list of the all-time guys, only one card has sold for $20,000 or more. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, and again, these are public sales, so privately, some of them probably sold for more, but these are public sales, so that's all we really have 100% access to. All right, so now we look at the current guys, and I did a list of 9 wide receivers of current players based on yardage, and then 3 top 3 consensus players, and you'll see that the only reason why those are separate from these top 9 and they're not on the list is because they're so young and they haven't had a career to build up the yardage. So you have number 1, Julio Jones for the yardage list. Number 2, DeAndre Hopkins. 3, Mike Evans. 4, Travis Kelce. 5, Devontae Adams. 6, Keenan Allen. 7, Tyreek Hill. 8, Stephon Diggs. And then 9, Amari Cooper. And then the top 3 consensus, meaning like, the 3 guys that everybody would say should be on the top list right now is Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, and Jamar Chase. So quickly looking at those, you have a Julio Jones sale, a 2011 Finest Superfractor, his rookie 101 in a BGS 9.5 for $8,351. His second highest sale is actually pretty cool. It's a 2011 National Treasures Black. It's out of 25, but it's got a piece of the jersey. It's got the Falcon on it, a jersey auto for $3,149. Still seems kind of undervalued for a guy that's underpriced for a guy that's this good. But DeAndre Hopkins, it really falls off here. His public sale, the 2013 National Treasures Gold RP at a 49, PSA 10 that sold for $2,457. It's kind of crazy to me to think that a guy this good has a public sale that's only $2,457. That's his high, but we do know that the 2013 Prism Black Finite 101s just sold recently in a private sale. It'll probably hit the market soon.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned for another high sale coming up. Anyway, Mike Evans, 2014 National Treasures Shield Auto 101 PSA 9, really cool looking card. $7,200. And then it also sold in 2022 for 12. That was in 2023. It sold in 2022 for 12,322. So technically, it's dropping a significant amount. But the thing with Evans is that he's got 3 2014 Black Finite Prisms in the base set. He's got 3 like photo variations. And then his 2014 Superfractor sales, he's had a number of them. They sold for around like 2,000 to 6,000. So everything's right around that amount. And I believe his Black Finites have sold too for like in the low like 2,000 to 3,000. But again, he's got 3 of them. So Travis Kelce, this is one that really, really surprised me. I think Austin Carlson Cards made a post about how he sold his Kelce. I think it was a 2013 Select Gold.
Right, rookie, yeah.
And he got a really good amount for that. And I think that has to, do with the fact that of Kelce's popularity. And this sale was in 2022. The one that I'm going to highlight here is 2013, the NT Rookie Signatures Shield 101. That sold for $23,400. So that's before the Taylor Swift stuff. In 2022, it sold for that. I mean, that's a lot. He's a tight end. He's obviously the main pass catcher on the Chiefs, but if that sale seems like an anomaly, his 2013 Topps Platinum 101, where he's in that T-shirt catching a ball with his wide receiver gloves on, no helmet, nothing else on other than a T-shirt and like shorts, that sold for $21,000 in March 2023. So I mean, it's pretty consistent high sales for him.
Yeah, his 2013 Topps Gold Refractor PSA 10 just sold for $11,000 about a week ago. $10,000 for his rookie Gold Prism a year ago. So he's definitely got some collectors out there.
Very strong sales. I mean, he's got the most popularity and highest sales of the ones that we mentioned so far for the new guys. Here we go, Devontae Adams, 2021 Gold Kaboom out of 10. Great PSA 10.
A good addition to your collection there, Brian. I'm glad you ended up with that one.
It's not mine. $6,001 in January 20th, 2022. His 2014 Prism Black Finite 101 sold privately in July of 2024. So stay tuned to maybe hear about that one. But again, a guy a lot of his high sales were this Gold Kaboom. So it's like there's nothing else that's really sold even near that, which is kind of crazy to me because he's pretty damn good wide receiver and he's up there on the current all-time list, I think. Keenan Allen, this was a really surprising one too. I mean, he's had 2 really low sales. His high sale was a 2021 NT NFL Shield. And I don't know.
No auto.
I don't even know what the hell
Yeah.
this thing is. It's like it's the one. Is that It's like a manufactured patch or something. I don't.
It looks like that. Yeah, it's the NFL 100. They had that that logo on the jersey, but it's not even an autograph. Oh my God, Beckett 8.5.
Did they wear that? Did they have that
$1,500.
for a year or something on their for the Shield, or is that like a manufactured thing?
I can't tell if that's. Yeah, I can't tell. It wasn't above the neckline like that, so I don't really know what that's supposed to be. That is bizarre.
Somebody got the banana in the tailpipe when they put
Wow.
that on. 2013 National Treasures PSA 10. This is a better looking one, a 4-colored patch. That's his second highest sale. That for $1,300, not much lower than that, but still, I mean, really low for a guy
More
like
palatable.
that. Yeah. Here we go. Here's the card of the week. Tyreek Hill, 2016 Panini Prism Black Finite 101 PSA 9 for $35,400. Just it's an amazing looking card. I think up until, just my opinion, up until like 2018 and before, those are like the key prisms. So like from 2012 to 2018, I think those are the prisms that really had great borders. They had great design. They were really unique in a number of different ways. 2016 being a really cool one, I think, and this one looks nice just because that any card that you can get kind of a smaller border with that black finite mosaic pattern on it, it really pops. And this is one of those cards. The red and black looks really cool on this too. Stephon Diggs, $5,160 sale for a 2015 NT Shield 101, a PSA 6. And then, a card that I think actually looks better that sold for a lot cheaper in 2023, same year, for $3,111 was his 2015 Prism Black Finite. It's not a Finite, it's actually the Pulsar, the auto version 101. It's a BGS 910 auto.
That patch up, that rookie Shield auto, that's a big sale. I mean, Diggs is a good player, but he's not. I mean, he's not going to be a Hall of Famer most likely unless he. I mean, he's kind of, the wheels haven't come off yet, but unless he has something of a resurgence, I feel like he's got a couple years left. But given how many active good receivers there are, it seems unlikely that he'll be a Hall of Famer.
No, you're right. These are huge sales. I mean, if you remember 5,000 and compare that to like some of the other sales for
Andre
guys
Johnson
on the other
was less
than
than
Andre
that.
Johnson. Mari Cooper, guy doesn't get much love, probably because of the teams that he's played for and where he's at. But 2015 Panini Contenders Super Bowl ticket, 101 auto, that was $2,800 in a BGS 9510 auto. He's got a cracked ice sale, a 2015 Contenders cracked ice sale out of 23 that sold for just a little bit under that price of $2,225, February 2016. So what's crazy about that is that sale is in 2016 and it sold for $2,225. Cracked ice out of 23. That's a big sale for the year 2016.
It really is. Wow.
Here we go. This is the big guy. Justin Jefferson, 2020 Prism Black Finite. Really cool looking card, but in a PSA 9, sold for $57,600. I get it. I mean, he's like, if you think of wide receivers, he's definitely top 3. He might be the best, but $57,000 is a pretty strong sale. That's a market setter. But again, it's a 101. So, I mean, I don't know who bought it, but the 2020 NTRPA sold out of 99, the true rookie. BGS 9.5 sold for $15,000. So you can take that in comparison. But again, that's out of 99, the true rookie. This is a 101 Prism. So the strength of the Black Finite, maybe. AJ Brown had some really low sales. I don't even know why I'm going to talk about this, but the 2022, the absolute kaboom vertical green feels stupid even.
Team color match.
I feel stupid even talking about it. 101 sold for $3,355. That's pretty embarrassing. The 2020, the Black Finite, I'd take this card over any of them. The Black Finite 101 is his second year card. That sold for $917 in 2023. That seems like an absolute steal if you're a AJ Brown collector. And then the 2019 Immaculate Collection, the Platinum 101 RPA sold for $3,000. Jamar Chase, big sale, had a 2021 NT RPA Shield. He's got a really cool looking autograph. I always thought $20,400 in 2022, and then his Black Finite rookie is 2021 Black Finite Prism BGS 9.5 sold for $17,000 in 2024 this year. So strong sales for him as well. So basically what we're looking at here is we got the list, the overall, I guess, veteran guys or older guys, they're all retired. And then you got the current players, the list of 12, because we added in the extra 3 guys at the end. So you looking at this list, Zan, do you see anything that's eye-catching? You have the overall list on the side where you got the top 5 guys of Rice, Jefferson, Hill, Kelsey, and Jamar Chase being the highest sales. Moss comes in at 6, but what are your thoughts?
I just think, if you're thinking about getting into collecting wide receivers generally, or a wide receiver, first of all, message Flippity Flip Cards on Instagram, find out his thoughts, because he's the wide receiver master. But if you are thinking about getting into him, there's a lot of opportunity to find all-time great Hall of Fame players and get their best cards for a lot less, a fraction of what a lot of current players who might be in the Hall of Fame go for. And I understand part of it's fun watching the guys playing currently, but that doesn't mean you have to pay $20,000 for a Jamar Chase in TRPA to enjoy watching him. You can get something a lot cheaper, or buy a third-year Black Prism or something like that, and chase down the Isaac Bruce and Tony Gonzalez cards where you can. So there's a lot of, if you're thinking about 90s, you want to collect a really good player, there's definitely some room there for the wide receivers.
Put a slide here of a few fun ones that we didn't include in the list, just because they were down. Well, one of them's Cooper Kupp, so he's pretty far down on the yardage list. But his biggest sale was $15,000 for the 2017 Prism Black Finite 101, the auto version, which is, it's a pretty strong sale. One that I like to highlight here is the 2000 Fleer Showcase Masterpiece 101. You and I have talked about this set a lot. It's awesome looking card, a BGS 9.5 with Jerry Rice, being a 101, $14,100 in 2023. I think that's a pretty significant sale for him. It's not even close to obviously his earlier cards or some of his better quote unquote cards, but that's a really strong sale. But again, it's Jerry Rice. And then a 2020 Prism Black Finite, the CD Lamb rookie Prism Black Finite for $14,100, the exact same price as the Jerry Rice. So I just want to highlight some of those other sales. So CD Lamb's climbing up on that list. If we included him and Cooper Kupp, they'd be probably in the top 10 on that list.
It's just so interesting to see, like, when we're going through the 90s guys, and there's just so few public sales, but it's like every current player has had their NT RPA 1/1 Shield auto sale, or the Black Finite, or both. It's just like with breaking and everything like that, they all come to market. So it's a lot easier to figure out what, quote unquote true values are.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's breakers getting these cards out in the public, and I think that might be the reason why we're seeing more of the best cards of the modern players are selling publicly, whereas maybe some of the better cards of the veteran players or retired players are selling privately, because they're already locked up in collections and they're not really put on the market through breaking and that. So they move through collector to collector. Just a couple conclusions and some final thoughts is that as with any collectible market, wide receiver pricing, just like any other one, is based basically off of desirability and collectability. So, as you could see from some of the sets that I listed and some of the players I talked about, the set legacy and popularity generally determine how collectible the player's card is overall. And then the nostalgia for the player and hype generally determine how valuable a player's card catalog is in general. So, like, if you're looking at Jerry Rice, a lot of nostalgia for Jerry Rice, a lot of popularity for Jerry Rice. his entire card catalog, if you go from top to bottom, is going to be higher than if you like compared it to a Tim Brown or something like that, or even like a Randy Moss, just because of the nostalgia and the hype around him. Same thing goes for like a Justin Jefferson compared to even a Jamar Chase. Justin Jefferson's cards in general are going to, in the modern territory, are going to sell for higher generally than Jamar Chase, even though some might even say that Jamar Chase is just as good as Justin Jefferson. I'm not debating that, just saying that, hype and nostalgia for players determine their entire overall pricing. And then, as I said before, it's just a snapshot. These are public sales. Private sales can vary differently. A lot of these cards may have sold privately that it would have boosted, like a Steve Smith Black 2012 finite may have sold privately for much higher than his public sale that would have jumped him up on the list even higher. So these are just public sales. You have to keep that in mind. One thing I want to point out, being knowledgeable about the card market in general, if you're buying modern cards, and even if you're buying, 90s and early 2000s cards, being knowledgeable about the market and what comparable players might go for would probably be the best bet moving forward, considering that Puka Nakua's Prism Finite, his 1 of 1 of 3, meaning that he's got 3 1-of-1s in the set for 2023. That sold this year in February for $14,500, an astronomical price for a first-year player who, quite honestly, nobody expected to be this good. It takes a lot to, pay that amount of money for a guy like that. Hopefully that was not a collector, and that was somebody that's just trying to make a quick buck, and maybe, most likely are going to fail at that overall. But, you never know. Time will tell.
That's interesting. That's some really good information. Kind of gives us an idea of where we are, where we're headed, and makes me feel better about being a 90s collector and now buying 90s wide receiver cards. So I think I'll continue doing that. So before we get into our favorite inserts from the 90s, we want to go through a few listener questions here. First one is from Drake's PC. He says, please discuss your process for deciding whether to keep a scarce, low-numbered 90s or early 2000s PC card when those markets are elevating with new collector and investor interest. What factors determine whether to keep it no matter what versus selling and then buying again months or years down the road?
I guess for me, the process always when I'm looking at what cards to keep or to sell would be like, what's the possibility that I can get this card back in the future? And then if I want to, go down even further, it's like, if I'm going to get it back in the future, is like grading scarcity going to be tough for me? Could I settle for a cheaper version in like a raw copy or something like that? So I guess really it always just comes down to how likely it is for me to get a copy of this card back in the future, regardless of whether it's 90s or 2000s or beyond. What about you?
Yeah, generally speaking, I go by print run, first and foremost. Now, there are cards that are out of 100 or something like that, or 98 or even 135 that maybe do not come up very often. I mean, there are cards that out of 50 that I've never seen, and other collectors of those players have never seen. So just because it's numbered to a certain amount doesn't necessarily mean that you can get it back easily. But I think if it's something that's transacted regularly, or where 2 or 3 others are, or there's one sitting on eBay even, that makes the decision. That's sort of my first layer. The unnumbered stuff, and then I guess that would be the second layer, would be that. But I don't ever think about getting rid of a card with the thought of definitively buying it back, meaning I don't want to buy it and then have to rely on getting it back. If I'm letting go of it, it's a card that I think I can get back, but maybe there's a little bit of doubt in my mind about whether I will actually want to at the price I would need to pay. Like, for instance, my Favre 98 PMG. Could I theoretically get that card back in the future. Yeah, I mean, there's another copy will pop up at some time if I wanted to go for it, but um, it doesn't make sense for me to let it go and then just go pay what's probably a higher price eventually. And it's a card that I definitely would want to get back. So I think there's that calculus that factors in as well.
Yeah, I think the point that I glossed over was the fact that he mentioned the markets are elevating with new collector and interest level. Like, what's to say that, let's say, that 98 PMG, yeah, you sold it for like a good price right now because it'd probably get more than what you even paid for it just because this market's hot right now. But then, like, what's to say that down the road you'd be able to get it back for even close to what you originally paid or you sold it for? Like, it could go up. And, what's to say that it's going to stay the same on a card like that? Because, I mean, it's out of 50, but it's not like it sells that frequently. So.
Right. Yeah, I think you have to weigh those things about how often it sells, what's the print run, how much you really want it. And, I think making a list of your cards and kind of ranking them is really helpful because then you can know whether the new card that you're possibly buying is going to be something that you like more than, whatever you're getting rid of.
All right, this question's from Carlson Cards. He asks, if you could only collect base cards, what would your PC binder look like? And how would you pursue this collection? What would you focus on?
Well, I mean, pursue the collection, that wouldn't be very fun because with some limited exceptions, base cards are unnumbered and generally available. So there really wouldn't be any chase element to it. But suppose that I could disregard that and focus solely on aesthetic. I would probably just look at things that I collected as a kid, the metal sets, SPX, UD Choice, some Pinnacle, some Donruss Limited. It would just be a mishmash of stuff that looks pretty cool. But I don't know that I would. And another thing I guess I would do is build sets out if I could, building insert sets, like rare insert sets. I'm assuming he means by base cards, he means unnumbered stuff. But if it's just base sets, then yeah, that'd be almost too easy, I think. What about you?
Well, yeah, that's the whole problem with even the question and I get where he's going with it, but the problem with it is me getting in the mindset of like, how would I actually collect it? Because if I can go onto eBay and just buy in bulk, like fill up my shopping cart with everything I want, is that really collecting or is that just buying? And
Right.
as a kid, like that was collecting to me because we didn't have, when I was collecting, we didn't really have the internet like it is today. We didn't have phones and all that stuff. So you just had a Beckett magazine and like buying base cards and buying some inserts here and there were like, that was collecting because you didn't know how much of those things were out. They weren't as readily available as they are now. Now, I could go on my phone on my lunch break and buy every base set that I wanted and stick it in a binder and I'd be done. Now I'm done collecting. Now what am I going to do? Start like buying like Pogs or marbles or something. I mean, what the hell am I going to collect?
Beanie Babies.
Beanie Babies.
Yeah.
Like what is it going to be next? So it's just.
Here's what I would do, actually. I thought about this. I would institute a rule. Whether I could stick to it, I don't know. But assuming I had relatively the same budget, I would make the rule that I could only put the base set together by opening packs. So assuming like that the boxes were affordable or whatever, then it would limit me from going and buying what I need and be like we're kids again, where you want that like that last cards, but you have 6 Todd Walkers from the set, and you can't find that last card you need. So I guess that's what I would do.
That would be cool. I do have a number of base sets, just stuff from as when I was a kid in binders right now. Like I have all the metal sets. I've had 93 Donruss baseball and like 2 binders just because that was like one of the first sets that I collected by opening boxes of it. Try to get Diamond Kings and stuff like that. I have random stuff like that, but it's not really, to me, it's not really collecting. Like then you get down the whole, the rabbit hole of like what makes cards collectible. Is it just buying things on eBay or is it actually like collecting, like finding rare stuff and hunting? And that's kind of what we like. But Should we get into the
Yeah.
main segment of the top 5 inserts?
Yeah, we have one more question that I will save for next week from a new '90s collector that I do want to address. So at Ragnar Cards, I did get your question, and we will look at it next week. So, but in the meantime, let's talk about our top inserts. So, what were your rules? I mean, I know you put some here, but what were your thought process for this, the approach to this?
So the rules that put in place were they had to be a top 5. We're doing a top 5 for each sport: football, baseball, and basketball, each of us. We can't use the same insert set for multiple sports. So like you can't use playmakers for both basketball and football. You have to pick one or the other if you use it. And then the sets, we tried to focus on ranking the sets based on these 3 categories, which would be aesthetics, primarily set and design. So how the card looks basically would be the number one characteristic. And then if we had, cards that were tied with each other in our minds, we would look at rarity or pack odds, serial number, print run, and then overall market value would be less if that had to be like a tiebreaker, like which one is worth the most. So we tried to stay away from picking solely cards that are more valuable or more rare. Really, we just looked at the card itself and the design and what ones we liked the best.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. You sent me this, and I didn't realize there was a rule slide. I went base. I did not factor in rarity because I wanted it to be true to the aesthetic and the design. Now, some of my cards are numbered just by virtue of them looking cool and also being numbered. And I also didn't see the rule about using the same insert set for multiple sports, but I did voluntarily choose to do that so that there would be a variety of inserts. And for those of you listening, this goes out without saying for most people. So you probably don't need this explanation, but if you're somehow new to cards or maybe new to inserts or to the '90s, we are not talking about base cards, and we're not talking about subsets of the base set. So, for instance, if you're familiar with 1998 Metal, the Hardball Galaxy, well, it looks like an insert and doesn't look like the base cards. It is a subset of the base. Think of 1999 Bowman's Best Performers or 1999 Finest Sterling. Those are subsets of the base. We are also not talking about parallel cards, which are, think about your rubies, your PMGs, your central credentials, variations of the base card with some effect. We're talking about inserts specifically, but parallels of inserts are fair game. So if there's an insert, maybe then there's also a refractor version of that same insert. The refractor version was fair game. So we decided to start with 90s basketball inserts. That's probably our least discussed sport on here. And Brian put up a few nice ones. There's a lot. I think basketball had the most considerations for us because the insert game in basketball is really strong. People pay up for Jordan inserts, Kobe inserts, and inserts in general. Here's a few really good looking ones. I'll start with my number 5, which is actually a card that was not really, it's sometimes forgotten, I would say. It's from 1996-97 Fleer. Not Ultra, just Fleer. It's Thrill Seekers, 1 in 240 packs. It's got almost like you're on mushrooms looking at this type of card. There's just all these swirling designs and colors. And if you have one, you can't really tell from this picture, but in person, it's got like this, I don't even know what you say. It's not like a vinyl, but it's almost like little ridges in the card. So like when you scratch it, it makes a noise. It would be almost like scratching a vinyl record, I guess, kind of that sound, same sound you get. But it kind of not refracts, but it changes like the image as you move it in the light. And I thought this was a neat one. You can find these for relatively affordable on ComC or eBay.
Yeah, that background was pretty popular in the mid to early 90s. It's like a holographic background or something, right?
Exactly.
So my number 5 was the 97-98 Hoops High Voltage, the 500 volts parallel of the insert. And the reason why I chose, they're numbered out of 500, which seems, again, to today's standards, it seems like a ton, but these are they're pretty rare. And again, like Zan said, even though I put the rules on here, I didn't look at like rarity and scarcity when I was picking these. I literally just picked for all 3 of these sports. I picked my favorite looking cards. Some just so happen to be lower serial number than others, but I really didn't even factor that in. I didn't have to because, as you said before, it was tough enough to try to put our top 5 favorite in each one of these sports. Like I could have easily picked like 10 to 15, but with this high voltage set, like I've never seen anything like it. I don't know if they've ever replicated this look. It's almost like I guess it's like if you're a modern collector, it's like a galactic background. I guess that would be like the next closest, but it's like a swirl design. And again, these are all posted on a PowerPoint on YouTube. So I would suggest if you want to see these cards, take a look because there's some really good scans on this presentation, and they're beautiful cards. You can find a lot of the players relatively cheap online. Some of the stars obviously are pretty expensive, but these are just gorgeous cards. And I wish I had the funds to collect 90s basketball inserts because I wouldn't even really care about the players. I would just buy whatever I could get for these different insert sets and just try to like fill a binder or a box with, the variations of inserts, whatever players I could get that were nostalgic to me. And this would be a set that I'd start with.
Yeah, that's a really nice one. My number 4 was a cut above. So that's from 96-97 EX2000, which has the credentials parallel Kobe's rookie year. These are 1 in 288 packs. Now, this set is found in basketball, baseball, and football. And frankly, the basketball is probably my least favorite of the 3, but I wanted to include it in one sport, and it was easier to fit it in for basketball. For me, it's got the image of a buzzsaw, die cut at the top of the card. And for basketball, it actually squares off at the bottom versus the football where it's a die cut all around, or at the top and bottom, I should say. But these have a holofoil kind of shine to them, and they really fit well with the EX2000 product, which was all about innovation and creating this, this really fresh product in the market that nobody had seen. As expensive, and if you couldn't, hit a credentials, you still had a shot at getting a really cool insert. And these actually do, other than maybe Jordan, remain pretty affordable if you're looking for one.
Yeah, and the reason why I guess I'll save it for later, but the cut above I didn't include in the basketballs because I wasn't crazy about the squared off bottom. I like it in baseball and football where it's just all the way around. My number 4 is I could easily move this up from 4. I absolutely love this set. It's the 1998-99 Fleer Tradition Electrifying. Any player. I think the Kobe looks the best, but there was a period of time where I thought about collecting Stephon Marbury because I thought his cards were pretty affordable compared to other stars, and I think that he's kind of, I look for value in trying to find a player to collect because I can get their cards for cheaper than others, and I feel like I'm, winning at some point. But if I were to collect like one player, maybe it would be like I was collecting Ray Allen, but I got away from it. But maybe like a Stephon Marbury because he's in all these sets, and I love his card in this set. I don't have it pictured here, but I think these are really cool. It's like a speckled gold background with the lightning bolts coming off the ball. Just a really well done card. It's 1 in 72 packs. Check it out. I mean, if you have a player in this set, it would definitely be on a short list of inserts or parallels even that I would buy of this card. It's really not. I guess for some of the other players, it's not too expensive. When you start getting like the Kobe's and stuff, it can get up there. But
yeah, that's a sharp card. I really like those. They made a football set in the Fleer Retro, which I thought was kind of interesting in 2012 or 2013. My number 3 pick is the 98-99 Topps Chrome Apparitions Refractor. So this card, as it says, is a refractor. There's also an apparitions base insert. So this goes back to what I was saying earlier about us. We did let parallels of inserts qualify as sort of an eligible candidate. The apparitions themselves were very common, 1 in 24 packs, but the refractors were all numbered to 100. There's only a 14 card set. You see a Vin Baker here. There was a few odd inclusions, like Brent Berry was in there. Keith Van Horn, obviously, because he was a second-year player, third-year player at that time. But you have the usual suspects like Kobe and Garnett and Duncan. But oddly enough, there's no Michael Jordan in the insert set, which is strange. So we've talked a bit before about how certain sets might be not damaged, but brought down by the fact that there's no Jordan. Apparitions Refractor might be one of those sets. It's really nice, kind of has this sort of Halloween scary feel to it, which you don't really see a ton in cards. So I wanted to give this one a nod because I don't typically think of, Finest and Topps Chrome as being at the forefront of inserts. Usually it's the Fleer Skybox family. So wanted to give a little bit of love to this card.
Yeah, I was like that card. I like the Kobe. He's got a really cool pose, and he's like going up for a layup or something in that. It's a really cool card. So my number 3 was it could easily be my favorite insert of all time. I kind of bumped it down just because of my other two. I feel like they just get the nod a little bit. But this is the 93 Ultra Scoring Kings. It's a classic. It's probably my favorite looking Jordan card. I think a lot of people, normally agree with that. That's just a really iconic pose. It's one out of 36 packs. I don't think anybody really understands how many of these are out there. They're really not that rare. Highly condition sensitive, but the design is just, it's awesome. It's a foil lightning bolt background. I think enough has been said about this card, but I also don't think that enough can be said about how great it is. So it's a 93 Ultra Scoring Kings at number 3 for me. In the picture too, I think one more thing about this, the one that doesn't get enough love in this set, the player, other than the Jordan, is the Larry Johnson. I loved Larry Johnson growing up. I think it's a cool image of him in the white Hornets pinstripe jersey. It brings back a lot of nostalgia. Starter jackets, hats, the Converse, React Juice, all that good stuff. So it's just a really cool, iconic set.
Somehow it was like no matter where you lived in the country, every kid in the 90s had Hornets stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It was like always the Hornets or Suns. That MJ, man, the record high sale on PSA 10 for that's 21,000, which is just incredible to me. It's like how common they are.
A little more than a Puka Nacua Black Fight.
A bit more. Yeah, pick your poison. My number 2 was a 1998-1999 Skybox Molten Metal Titanium Fusion. I should have put this at baseball, mainly because I can't really explain the complexities of the set. There was all kind of production errors that led to. So let me back up. The base insert is the Fusion, which is silver and unnumbered. The Titanium Fusion is gold. In baseball, they also have a Sterling, which I think is numbered to 500, which is like a purplish kind of color. But in baseball, the Titanium Fusion, they're all numbered to 50, the serial cut, die cut serial. In basketball, it's confusing. It's very confusing. There's only, I think, a handful, maybe 10 to 15 players that are numbered to 40 that actually have the die cut serial there. Jordan's one, Duncan, Garnett is another. I think Sean Kemp has one, but then there's the silvers that are all numbered to 250 as well, which is kind of confusing. So you have to be careful with these. Some of them are numbered, some of them aren't, but the design is fantastic. The die cutting to kind of etch out the player design, as well as the the framing of the player, sort of rule of thirds, typically on one extreme of the card, and then you've got the die cut serial. I really wish that's one of the things I wish more than anything is that they had these in football.
Yeah, it's a cool looking set. My number 2 is the 98-99 Fleer Tradition Playmakers Theater. I chose to put the Playmakers Theater in this instead of the football. I could have easily put it in the top 2 for football, but I love the gold background compared to the silver background. But just in general, the design is the same other than that background. It's got like an embossed hollow foil background. You can't say enough about it. Great poses on the players. Serial numbered out of 100. There's no parallels to the insert. It's just an insert out of 100. Just a great set overall. I can't say enough about it, but I do think there is something to be said about that goldish background as opposed to the football. But I like both. I could have easily put this in football as well.
Yeah, those are nice. Be honest, I think you're one of the few people who have said that, who have met that likes the gold or the basketball better than the football. So that's cool to have a little bit of a variety of opinion. My number 1 was, again, I based mine on aesthetics. 97-98 Ultra Star Power Supreme, 1 in 288 packs. The base insert is the Star Power, which is really common. And then you have the Star Power Plus, which is 1 in 36 packs. And then the Supreme, which has this sort of yellow design. It's die cut acetate. It has these atoms that are etched hollow foil. Well, not etched, but they're hollow foil and on top of the acetate. These sparkle really well in the light. They're very affordable if you can find them. So maybe a bit of a surprise at number 1 here, but I wanted to go a little bit off the beaten path. Check out this set if you're unfamiliar with it and you want a nice, cheaper entry point into basketball inserts.
I mean, aesthetically, that's one of the most unique designs that you can have on a card. I know nothing has been made like that, so I can understand why that would be a top 2 aesthetically for sure.
Right.
I kind of went along the same lines. There are rare inserts, but I feel like the 97-98 EX 2001 Jambalaya that's it in terms of aesthetics. The lenticular properties of the card, the die cutting. I mean, you can't say enough about it. It's just an awesome card. I think it's the best looking basketball card made. It's 1 in 288 packs. So I mean, if you're looking at the price point compared to like how rare they are, I mean, it's, give or take, but I mean, looking at the aesthetics of the card, it's just there's nothing like it. I think it's just it's unbelievable in terms of how it was designed and how they put a card like that together. It is truly art, in my opinion, on cardboard.
Yeah, had you not put this on your list at all, I would have included it. This is up there for me. I mean, again, I was trying to be a little bit different than your list, but this is definitely towards the top. And when I was dabbling in 90s basketball, looking at Peyton and Kid cards, I was very disappointed to find that neither of them is in the 97 set. So if you have a guy in this set, probably won't be cheap, unless it's maybe like Keith Van Horn or something. But otherwise, you're going to have to probably pay up. So just be mindful of that if you're looking to buy one.
Stephon Marbury, that was my entry point. Right. My 2 favorite ones are a picture here. That Shaq and the Penny are my 2 favorite ones in this set.
Yeah, great framing on the pictures there. All right, let's move into baseball. Top 5s. Here's a few extra pictures here. Dial 1, that's a good inclusion there on the old, looks like a Nokia cell phone there of some sort. See, playing Snake or something on there. Cheap seat treats, those are really cool. They had the chair that unfolds. My number 5 was something we talked about about a week ago or 2 weeks ago. It's 97 Flair Showcase Diamond Cuts, 1 out of 20. These are die cut, as the name kind of implies. They shine like a diamond. There's a diamond at the top, player's name with the insert set name in the middle, and then a baseball diamond at the bottom. So a little double entendre there for you. But these are really common. I I looked up prices afterwards, well under $50 for a lot of the players in the set, ungraded. So definitely take a look at these if you have never seen them. And this is a really, really good entry point into 90s baseball inserts.
My number 5 was 1998 SP Authentic Chirography. I think it's the coolest looking autograph card, I would say, probably of any of the sports, especially the Griffey. It's got a holofoil, looks like a framed like photo that you'd see in like a old photo book. But it's all like, it's got a holofoil finish to it, and then obviously, based on its name, it's got a really clean autograph for each player in the set. And there's various player odds, pack odds, or print runs, if you want to call it that, of each player. Some of the players just have higher odds. I don't know, probably somewhere in like the print run of like 1,000 or 2,000. But then some of the key players like Griffey are print run of 400, A-Rod, which is featured here as well, print run of 800, and then the Clemens print run of 400. But just, I mean, check them out. I really can't describe what they look like. If you're not looking at this presentation on like YouTube or something and you just listen to it on a podcast, it's tough for me to describe what they look like. But the Griffey is like an iconic Griffey pose with his hat backwards. Beautiful autograph, blue autograph. It just really pops on the white background. And I mean, it's iconic 90s, just great on-card autos, which you don't see much of anymore.
Yeah, these are really, really clean. Like, honestly, one of the best layouts for an autograph card that you can imagine. Yeah, really, really nice. They sell well. I mean, the Griffies sell really well, even though there's 400 of them. I always forget when talking about inserts to include autographs. So I'm glad you included an autograph. It's not a natural proclivity of mine to go for autographs. So this was good, a little bit of a change of pace here. Number 4 for me, 1998 Skybox EX 2001 Destination Cooperstown. 1/720 packs. I almost went with Destination Honolulu in football. I did not. I like these better. I think that the Destination Honolulu, the design is more creative since every card is different than its counterparts in the set, and it's got a wood veneer on top of the card. Just really impressive. Destination Cooperstown is a luggage tag with the player's name, team, position, and then the destination listed as Cooperstown came in packs with like an elastic cord, so you can still find some copies with that elastic cord, whether slabbed or not. I have a bag while it does not have the cord, but these are an awesome insert that were really short printed, and because the packs were so expensive, of EX 2001, you only got like 2 cards per pack. It was really, really difficult to find one of these pack pulled. So another one to check out, not prohibitively expensive, something that you should look into if your player's in the set.
So the number 4 for me is the 1998 Circa Thunder Rave Reviews, 1 in 288 packs. It's a horizontal card. The one featured here is the Ken Griffey Jr. It's like a bronze metallic finish, but the main thing to look at on this card is it's die cutted. It's just a crazy die cut, very unique. It's tough to even describe. If you're listening to some podcast, you really have to just kind of look at it, look it up, or look at the YouTube video that we have. But it's a really unique card. Almost reminds you of like the finish that's on like a penny or something like that. Just a really cool looking card, cool design, unlike any other really.
Yeah, I really like these. Have the bag well of them. It's a great design. It's got the die cut, and it definitely is better than the other. I think there was another rave review that they did, or something. Maybe it wasn't.
It was like a holograph finish.
Yeah, that's right. There was. It was the year before, I believe. So I think this one's the best looking for sure. My number 3 is Intimidation Nation. So 99 Skybox Premium. This was another card that was in all sports. So you can find it in basketball and football. The main difference is that in baseball, it was actually serial numbered to 99. I really wish that had been the case in the other two sports, but I like these kind of close-up portrait cards for some reason. I really like the platinum portraits. We talked about the titanium fusion, which has sort of the die-cut portrait. A lot of these, some of them have ridiculous facial expressions or whatnot. You see Juan Gonzalez here; it just kind of looks like he's trying to remember if he turned the oven off at home or something like that. But these are really cool, great design, and the fact that they are serial numbered kind of made me put them into baseball rather than any other sport.
My favorite on this set is the Greg Maddux. I mean,
yeah,
it's like the complete opposite, but it's ironic.
Yeah, or the Tony Gwynn with his like chipmunk cheeks, which nothing less than that, intimidating than that.
So my number 3 is one that we already talked about, the 97 Flair Showcase Diamond Cuts. I just featured a few different pictures on here of cards in the set. You have the Griffey on there. I have the A-Rod, the Derek Jeter, and the Greg Maddux. I think the Greg Maddux and the Griffey are two of my favorite in the set, pose wise. I think they're just great cards. Enough can't be. You can't say enough about them. The die cutting, the holofoil finish, and such. But really, really cool cards. Really affordable. If I were getting into baseball and wanted a cheaper.
Yeah, those are great. As we discussed before, I can't get enough of these. Definitely check them out. ComC, eBay, wherever you got to look. My number 2, 99 UD Choice StarQuest Gold out of 100. You see a Frank Thomas pictured here. Oddly enough, though, so these were in basketball as well. Football design was different. It had a different design. I like this design better. Almost like a prism design, with the four the borders there. The basketball was a pale gold, and the baseball is almost like more of a bronzish color, which is a little bit of a misnomer in that it's gold. But these are not that easy to find, believe it or not. The Prime Choice Reserve seems to pop up more. Same product, both numbered to 100, but these, again, UD Choice, not a popular product at the time, so it's possible that either a lot of these are still in packs because nobody really bought them, or they're just in boxes somewhere. So if you can find a Star Quest of your favorite player, even if it is number 200, it's probably more rare than you think. Yeah, like a fortune teller's ball. Gypsy ball. Sounds like a dance. Yeah. Crystal ball. Yeah, crystal ball. There we go. Yeah, these are great. They kind of are almost like a comparison piece to, not comparison, companion piece to the Apparitions Refractors, kind of that spooky, mystical vibe to them. And again, not a big Topps Chrome insert guy, but these were one that they did right. All right, my number one is something that I just almost never gets talked about. Or, I mean, people who know the set know it, and baseball collectors know it. So I'm not saying it's like this really arcane set, but um, it's the '98 Flair Showcase Perfect 10. It's a 10 card set. They're all portraits. They are a washed out kind of look to them. They're extreme close ups. They're just exceedingly hard to find. They're hand numbered to 10, which I always love hand numbered cards. So like the basketball grand finales are so cool with diamond dimensions. I love hand numbered cards. They are. I know there's was it Lingua Sports Cards? He's got a Scott Rowland I've seen on his page. I put up a story not long ago saying, like, if you have one of these, I will pay up for it. Don't care who the player is. Though I don't really want A-Rod or Griffey. But Perimeter Collectibles, I think it was, he messaged me. He's like, at one time I had 6 of the ones in the set or something like that, which is absurd. He doesn't have any longer. But I really love this set. Would like to find one. If you're listening, you know where one is, or you have one and you want to sell it, please let me know. Yeah, these are really nice. I just actually just sold my bag. Well, I was kind of greening a bit. It's PSA 9, but these are great. Like I said, they can be pretty expensive. Some of the players aren't, but the good ones typically are. But they're, I mean, if you can find your guy, definitely recommend it. All right, let's get into football, which is our last sport here that we did, and I'll go ahead and start with my number 5, which is the 98 Ultra exclamation points, 1 in 288 packs. Corey Dillon, PSA 10 pictured here. This is not, I think I had a PSA 10. This is not my old copy, though. I pulled this off Card Ladder. It's an acetate card. It's got gold hollow foil dots on all over the card. It says exclamation points behind the player. The player is centered. And I assume, I mean, do you know what the design is? Like, is that a crystal ball sitting on it? Like, what is it? Is it supposed to be anything in particular, or is it just, yeah, it's a gypsy ball, fortune teller ball. Yeah. Interesting. Well, I guess, who knows? Who knows? Maybe we can have Gene McLeod on tell us what it is. But yeah, these are really good. They have a lot of the big players in it: Barry Sanders, Peyton Manning, Corey Dillon. So you could find these pretty cheap on eBay. And again, another card that will make your insert binder look pretty cool. Yeah, I used to have the farm, and then another one. While these are a good binder card, be careful of the edges. I've snagged it a couple times on the Ultra Pro. Number 4 for me, not a 90s card, 2002 Pacific Feature Attractions, 1 in 37 packs. I will give full credit to my man at Upper Deck with an XK on the ending, James on Instagram, who I think has this entire set, and I had never seen these or heard of them until he posted them. He posted the Tori Holt, which is Toy Story themed. I think it's Tori Story. But each of the players in this set has a card that's representative of a movie poster from that time. So, like Eddie George here, you can see on the screen is Remember the Titans. Like Edgerrin James is Indianapolis James. Kurt Warner is Star Warners. So that a lot of them are plays on words and just creative design. I'm a big movie guy, and so this was something that I really liked seeing. Again, these are very easy to find, very cheap. There's a Ron Dane if you're a big Ron Dane collector. So definitely check these out. Pacific, not a big Pacific fan, but this is something that I think they did right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, the slide, yeah. It was a typo. I meant 99. Yeah. Yeah, these are cannot be understated. I mean, cannot be overstated. How bright these things are when you see them in person. I'm thinking, like, what did 98 Flare Brilliance, like, what did they have access to? Some kind of special printing process of these in the 24 carats that were just like blindingly shiny. But yeah, I agree. These are cool. I wish they'd numbered them. That would have been, I mean, they would have been a top 5 um, insert probably across sports had they numbered these, but they're still really cool. And I don't think that makes them any less desirable. Number 3, geez, I don't even know. Yeah, maybe. And again, it's, one of those products that, like we talked about on prior shows, was not one that was opened a lot um, at that time. So the circulation probably is not that high on them. All right, number 3 for me in 99, Flair Mystique Star Power. Another one that is just really shiny. Has a serial number on the front. It's on a little sticker on the bottom left corner. You see a Troy Aikman here. This is a great set. I have had the Favre, have had the Eddie George. And again, it's super underrated, mainly because Mystique is not necessarily one of Fleer's best products or most respected products. But nevertheless, Star Power is one of the rare football inserts that's numbered to 100 or less. You just don't see it a ton with inserts in football. And so this was one I definitely had to put on my list. Yeah, I'm glad you included that. I agree that design is much better. All right, my number 2 looks pretty similar to your number 2. 99 Metal Universe linchpins, 1 in 360 packs. I mean, but for the existence of my number 1 card, which is interestingly different than your number 1 card, this would be the best insert, in my opinion, in football. I like the way it's colored in football and baseball with the orange-red background. It looks like a sun exploding versus the basketball, which is almost like more of a nighttime feel, kind of the bluish purplish background. These are just really cool. Obviously, they have the little die cut linchpins that are the player is the linchpin as well, being magnetizing all these little die cut designs. But just a really, really creative insert, and one that I think every collector wants to have if your guy's in the set. Last one, 1998 Fleer Tradition, Playmakers Theater, number to 100. So I have had a couple of these over the years. I actually had 3 of them. Have had this Elway in the picture, Eddie George and Terry Glenn. I don't have them any longer, but not because I didn't like them. They were just unfortunate victims of consolidation at various points. I'd like to get the Favre at some point, but these shine. I mean, the whole idea behind them is fantastic. There's only 1 year of the Playmakers Theater. One thing I thought was always strange about this set was that there's no Jerry Rice in it. There's a Favre, there's a Sanders, there's an Elway, there's a Marino, but there's no Jerry Rice. There's a Charlie Batch and there's a Cordell Stewart. I just thought that was an odd omission. Sometimes you see that with insert sets here and there, guys get left out. But yeah, this was my favorite insert, and it wasn't particularly close for me. What did you come up with at number 1? Yes, they did. Double packer. Yeah, and 2 Broncos too. Yeah, I think Davis is in it as well. Yeah. These are great. I had the Favre. I always thought they were funny because it's just such a very Y2K type of design, right? Like this is like fear the internet type of like hysteria going on behind with like the binary up the behind Favre there, and then these flames or something down in the left hand corner. I don't know. Great set though. Another one that Clear Skybox did really well. So here's a take a look at our overall number ones for basketball. Brian had Jambalaya. I had the Star Power Supreme. For baseball, Brian had the Man Refractor. I had the Perfect 10. And then for football, Brian had the 2000 Men. And I had the Playmakers Theater. Brian, any final thoughts on our 90s inserts? Yeah, I was gonna say if you're sitting at home and you're like, man, I don't know how to get into the '90s. It's so expensive everywhere you look. Inserts are a great way to do that because you can get rarity, you can get aesthetics that are usually better than bases and parallels. I mean, sometimes anyway. And you can find good players. They usually put the best players in the insert set. So there's no shortage of options if you're interested in '90s inserts. Feel free to message us with any questions if you have curiosities or want other suggestions beyond what was in the slide. Thank you so much for staying with us almost to the 2 hour mark. A lot of information. Hope you found something useful. Hope you found something entertaining. Shoot us some questions for next week, and we will be back with an episode next Thursday. See you guys then.